everything requires patience. And when you have a spiritual goal in view and taste for spiritual joy, the ability to be patient becomes beyond measure. But if you don't have a spiritual goal and you have not enriched yourself in a spiritual way with mantras, satsanga, etc., then your patience is very fleeting. Instead of being patient, you become a real patient in a hospital. Om Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Om. Adorations to Lord Krishna, the preceptor of the universe, destroyer of the forces of darkness, bestower of immortality. Seventh chapter of the Gita, entitled Jnana-Vijnana-Yoga, the yoga of knowledge and realization. These two words come together. Jnana relates to intellectual grasp. Vijnana relates to realizing it. Simple way of saying theory and practical experience. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Maya Saktamana Partha Yogam Yunjan Madhamaya Shrayaham Asanshayam Samagram Mam Yatha Jnasati Tatshinu. With your mind attached to me, with me as your refuge, practicing yoga, O Partha, how will you know me fully without any doubt? That may you hear from me. Is the literal meaning, and contains many points. And I have already given a part of subtle meaning about this in the previous talk. Having your mind attached to me, implying you have to develop sadhana-chatushtaya, fourfold qualifications of an aspirant. Just to reiterate in a summary way, Viveka is called discriminative knowledge. I'm waiting for, just to let you know, it's very important. Your entire life must be guided by Viveka. Viveka is like a flashlight, practiced in every plane. Suddenly something has happened. You need to deal with that situation. And you are sent out, do it. But do it with Viveka. Don't lose your patience. Don't become agitated by it. Allow your reason. Somebody is drowning and you are there to help the person, but you don't know swimming enough. So don't get yourself drowned while the person who is drowning may survive. If that's the way you are operating, it is not working with Viveka. Life has to be lived with Viveka. But Viveka is a very advanced quality at the level of your intellect. and discerning intellect that distinguishes between what is real and what is not real, what is eternal and what is not eternal. And the real, the absolute real is Brahman, God, your pure consciousness. The I am in you. The real I am is not your body, not the mind, not the senses. Allowing the intellect to get into this type of insight, that's the growth of Viveka. And to have the intellect a perfect understanding that the I am is Satchidananda, absolute existence, knowledge, bliss, absolute. But this movement of Viveka is progressive. How much Viveka you go on developing. Mystically, the Viveka is represented by Goddess Saraswati, who rides on a swan. The swan gives you the meaning about using the ancient style. It is believed that if you give milk mixed up with some other liquid, a swan will sip out the milk and leave the adulterated stuff apart. Now, if you practice in it too exactly, it doesn't happen. This is allegorical statement. All experiences are kind of mixed up. You feel joy of human love, warmth, things that delight your heart. There are so many things. But in every delight, there are two aspects. One aspect based on senses, which is drowning your mind into some type of a negative situation. Positive, it uplifts your mind. But you have to have Viveka, not to lean towards the negative, move to the positive. In simple words, if you move towards the positive, you will be the master of your senses, your mind, your intellect. See it in another way. Control, sadhana requires mastering the senses by the mind, mastering the mind by the intellect, allowing the intellect to be overpowered by spiritual wisdom. As you develop Viveka, Vairagya begins to develop. Things that are not important, purposeless, unreal, you become detached from them. Each quality is practiced in a progressive manner. You cannot become absolute Vairagi. Detachment continues to occur. When you are a child, you are attached to so many toys. As you grow up, as you begin to grow up, you leave your baby bear behind and many other things. You become detached gradually. Likewise, living in the world, you are always growing. And if you allow the spiritual growth to be in your vision, then mind also develops an insight into the worthlessness of lots of things that delight human mind. Vairagya. Janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha doshanudarshanam. And the very fact of being embodied is not the goal. You exist in order to attain absolute fulfillment, the purpose of life, called liberation, moksha, nirvana. To understand that point, and anything that distracts you from that goal, you develop detachment. And that movement is Vairagya. I have explained all these, so I'm just touching these points. If you want to go on developing Viveka and Vairagya, certain qualities come to you in a cluster. 6 qualities: serenity, shama. Each quality is a fascinating topic, and you should allow your mind to understand it, be fascinated by it. Situations come and go. Mind is constantly involved in swinging. A joyous situation, mind swings this way. Sense of pleasure, thereby builds up attachment. Painful situation, mind swings the another way. And in that swing, there develops a sense of distaste, hatred, pain. Pleasure and pain, they go on creating raga and dvesha, and the mind goes on swinging. This swing needs to stop. If you can stop it, even for a short duration, your mind will be tuning itself to eternity. It's such a big goal, and it is so easy. It's right in between your thoughts. It goes on slipping from your fingers. Therefore, it requires a persistent method, satsanga. Remind yourself again and again. Do japa. Build up good karmas so that mind can allow you to have serenity. Just neither the past nor the future. Just like you were in deep sleep, but without even a tiny bit of sleep in your personality, without dozing off, without becoming sluggish, with full vigilance, the mind is just calm, serene. The joy that comes in that state of mind, no amount of money, no amount of gain or fame can compare with it. And that is your goal. That goal is not in the bank. That goal is not, you don't have to get it from people. You don't have to beg for of others. It's something potential within you, and through satsanga, through sadhana, that faith in attaining that goal must develop in your heart. And then you begin to allow the mind to come to that state of serenity. It doesn't come complete, but to whatever degree you enjoy, that joy fascinates your intellect. And you go after it. Just like a bee has tasted a little honey, but that's enough for the bee to become mad after it. Serenity, out of 6 qualities, serenity is the first. I elaborated upon it. All these points I have done before, but I'm just again touching upon it. Serenity, if you have that serenity, quality of serenity, what you find, you have great control over your senses, your whimsical moods. You will have great control over your anger and hate. And that state, that quality is Dhamma. Shama, Dhamma. Next great quality is Uparati. You are living in the world not to build up karmic basis for your life, but living in the world to terminate karmas. That term is called Uparati. You're living in the world so that you don't come back in the world again. Karmas that you do, they have two objectives. Karmas that you do, they will bring certain effect in the world of time and space. You have a project, the project will succeed. Success will be in the world outside. Another, how much it impacts your heart. If it's a good karma, your heart gets a special type of taste. And if you are doing your karma with a spirit of surrender and a deeper understanding, your goal then becomes purity of heart, not fruit of karma. You're not counting upon what the karma will bring to the world. That doesn't mean that your mind doesn't have that type of magnanimity. Let my karmas help people. That's perfectly okay. But what I'm trying to say, let not your mind become so limited that if you have created a mango grove and your mind is thinking, where will the mango grove go? Will it stay with my coming generations? Or will we go somewhere else? I'm elaborating. The idea is that should not be your involvement. All that you have, I have done my duty. Am I gaining purity of heart? Am I allowing the heart to relax so that God can get in? Your heart is crowded, God doesn't know where to go. It doesn't need big space. I'm making it just joking better. In a crowded heart, you don't have the awareness of God's presence. So it becomes Shama, Dhamma, Uparati, allowing God to come. And in order that God may come into your heart, constant focus on purity of heart. Am I sitting with hatred, negative thought, even dejection, sorrow? All these crowd your heart. And God doesn't like it, very fashionable. On the other hand, if you keep the mind free of depending upon the objects of the world which are constantly changing, allow your mind to be serene, calm, and the heart thereby is free of impurities such as anger, hate, jealousy. Now your vision goes towards attaining liberation. Liberation is your goal, not the fruit of karma. Fruit of karma will bring you result in the world of time and space. But liberation gives you the highest goal. You become one with God. live to attain liberation, not to just create good karmas and go on after reaping the reward of karma from one life to another. And this karmic process moves in a circle. It may give you heights of joy, but then your karma turns into negative karma. Papa and punya, sinful karmas, virtuous karmas, they continue to rotate. Liberation is your goal. That understanding is promoted by this quality, Uparati. Next quality, Titiksha, endurance. Everything requires patience. And when you have spiritual goal in view and taste for spiritual joy, the ability to be patient becomes beyond measure. But if you don't have a spiritual goal and you have not enriched yourself in a spiritual way with the mantras, satsanga, etc., then your patience is very fleeting. Instead of being patient, you become a real patient in a hospital. Next quality is shraddha. Shraddha is faith. Faith is the most profound divine quality in every soul. That faith is awakened. The strength of that faith cannot be imagined. It is that strength that shows up with all the mothers in all living beings. See, when a baby, the mother cat, to protect the little baby, comes up with tremendous strength. I'm just giving a simple illustration. There are many illustrations. Don't have to give an illustration. Every human being has something within so powerful that strength doesn't depend upon ordinary explanations of calories, etc. It is a spiritual basis. And that type of strength is potential. Through sadhana, you go on developing. Sixth quality, samadhana. Mind does not look at anything with a sense of contradiction. Adverse situations come. You know that's adverse because the taste is bitter. But deep down, you do not develop the feeling that I'm ruined. I am the worst person to get all this adversity. Nobody else gets it like mine. Instead, developing a type of personality never loses sight of the fact that God has created you, that God is behind all things that happen. With immense patience, God has allowed your body to develop. God has created all situations and circumstances for leading your soul to spiritual evolution. And God has created this entire universe. That divine support is within. With that understanding, you take every situation with a joyous heart. That doesn't mean that you do not do self-effort to deal with situation. You deal with it in a practical way. If there is a thorn in your foot and it's pinching you, you feel the pain. You sit down and you try to remove it. But while doing that, you do not build up internal turmoil in your heart, but rather develop a sense of something good is happening. Samadhana means not to live in contradiction, no matter how things happen. And I will not go build too much there. All these six come into sixfold qualities. And the fourth, as I said, chatushtaya, Viveka, Vairagya, Shat Sampat, Mumukshutva. Mumukshutva is aspiration, intense aspiration for God realization. But this intense aspiration is not a stressful aspiration. This intensity is a joyous development. If you are healthy, you develop good appetite. It becomes very intense. But it doesn't give you the idea that you are in a negative state. You feel more joyous, frisky. So that is called Mumukshutva. You are frisking your way to attaining God realization. If you have developed these qualities, now thereby you become attached to God. Real attachment. And God becomes your only refuge. Otherwise, you get attached to so many things, but things you are attached to, they are not your refuge. Even in your relations, you get very attached. But when it comes to bigger troubles, no one, even the closest members of the family, they are not your refuge. Inner trouble comes, you are dreaming. In your dream, you are haunted by something. Even the closest of relatives can't help you there. But here you realize you are drawing yourself to God, who is the greatest refuge, who is an abiding, eternal support. Put it in another way, he is like eternal home. Your soul enters into God, attains Vaikuntha, the divine abode. All these are allegorical way of describing liberation. Practicing yoga, another term is given. In daily life, practice integral yoga. And it's another angle of this interpretation. Gita has already introduced you to it. That is, when you say you practice yoga, from a broad point of view, what it implies, turn your attention to swadharma. Do your duties. Don't turn away from your duties. But while doing your duties, bring into your heart special spiritual attitudes. Those attitudes are called vikarmas. Gita describes them as yajnas. They are allegorical form of mystic sacrifices. In other words, doing your duty as a form of pleasing God. worshipping God, invoking God, doing your duties for developing, enhancing surrender to God, doing your duties for enhancing divine qualities. If that attitude develops along with the performance of your duty, you have to understand all the duties you do, they are a part of a divine plan. If your mind is well set, everything that you do becomes sadhana. You become too exhausted and sit down, sadhana. You work very hard in the night, you just sleep, sadhana. Nothing in your life is without sadhana. This attitude is very profound, and that's what needs to do. Gita presents a formula. Karma plus vikarma becomes akarma. Karma, swadharma. Duties that you are doing, if you have blended those duties with special attitudes that God is working through me, I'm only an instrument. Let me do this well, and let my work bring smile in God's lips. That special attitude. Now the karmas that you do, their result will be zero from the point of view of the fruit of karma. But those karmas will create in your heart expansion, purity. Your heart will draw God within, and your attainment is beyond imagination, leads you to the highest. That's the implication of 2. Yogam yunjan. Be involved in yoga. And madashraya, keeping me as your ultimate only support. Asanshayam samagram yam. Asanshayam samagram mam yatha jnasyati tatshinu. Gaining knowledge of God, the knowledge that is without, that is free of doubt. Focus your attention on this point. How to keep the mind relaxed about mystical questions. The question of God. Does he live in a certain place? Does he have a body? Does he have big ears to hear? How did he come to exist to begin with? I'm elaborating just to make it dramatic. The question about birth. How did you come into a particular family? How everything matched up, your hereditary factors, and where those factors meet with in your father, mother, what led them to come together, all those countless things. And if you do not accomplish your goal, again you are giving all the problem to God's plan. To look for parents, look for all the circumstances. needed for your evolution. Create countless situations to bring you. And babies don't come without problems. Go through all the problems of sneezing, coughing, teething. You say, I don't believe. So that's where you need to remove that doubt. It's irrational to think that you just came from nowhere and after death you just finish. You came with a history from the past. And leaving the body behind, you are going through again, getting into another involvement. The question about birth, death, what's the mystery behind it? Mind must work upon it. Mind must work about bondage. What has made you in a state of bondage, depending upon the world, depending upon time, circumstances, chained as it were to your body, to your mind, to your intellect. And what constitutes release? All these and similar. When your mind goes into gaining insight into these, insight into virtuous qualities, what will make me fearless? What is ahimsa? Non-violence. How much can I practice it? And what will it give to me? If you go into these, this is a vast topic. And it is not interfering with your practical world, rather it gives you a deeper insight, nutrition, inner nutrition, to face the world in the most perfect way possible. And all this becomes inspirational. You must understand the difference between perspiration and inspiration. Without spiritual insight, life is perspirational. The more you perspire, better, good for your health. But for inner health, the more inspiration, greater, more nourished is your soul. All this may you hear from me, so that you develop love of God. The end result is developing anurag, love that goes on increasing until you attain the absolute love. Second verse. Jnanam teham sabhijnanam idam vakshamya chesheshata yajñatva neha bhujonyad jnatavyam avashishyate. I will fully instruct you regarding this knowledge, together with realization, having known which, nothing more should remain here to be known. A profound statement. Urge to know is limitless in every heart. And no matter how much you know, there is always thirst to know more. Actually, putting it in a mathematical way, the more you know, the more you become aware of the unknown. In the dense darkness, if you burn a candle, the candle knows darkness. How much? According to its power, candle power, a circle of few inch radius. If you allow the knowledge of the candle to grow, if you go on increasing the wattage, increasing luminosity, and ask the same luminous source, how much is darkness? Darkness goes on increasing. The whole mile becomes its radius. And if the light is growing more, darkness becomes more and more. That's the predicament of knowledge, intellectual knowledge. But intuitional knowledge is something different. This intuitional knowledge is like the sun shines, and you are not removing darkness by increasing the wattage with light of the sun. That knowledge realization, put it in a very simple way, what an aspirant needs to gain the knowledge of scriptures, that such as Gita, the Upanishad. But while you are gaining the knowledge intellectually, and as you begin to practice those qualifications, intellect turns into intuition. Intuitive intellect gives you the knowledge, the absolute. That knowledge is absolute, full, knowing which nothing more needed. This is brought in the Upanishad. A disciple comes to the Guru and with kind of pride of having known so many things, the Guru asks, have you known something? Did your teacher teach you that knowing which all is known? There's no such thing. But then he humbles himself down and listens. And the Guru explains, just as by knowing the clay, you know all the pots that are made out of clay. All the pots have the same stuff behind it. Knowing ornaments, countless names and forms. Behind them there is only one gold metal. Behind all human experiences, mental, intellectual, experiences at the level of senses, all experiences are made up of the clay, the substance of consciousness. That knowing that consciousness which is boundless, you know all. Knowing the sun, you know all illuminations. But if you go on knowing the glowworms, you know very little. Manusyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye yatatam siddhanam kaschin mam vetti tattvataha. Among thousands of men, one rare soul strives for perfection. Among those who strive with success, one perchance knows me in truth. This is a statement of of profound truth. Spiritual movement is not dependent upon mass mentality. You do not bring many people together and say, what should I do? I will do what all of you say, the majority vote. Majority of people remain backward. Only some rare souls advance. And that should not surprise you. That happens even in all educational systems. In every grade where you are, there are so many are working in that grade. But only one or two will become the class first. But that's only to encourage you. Try to understand. You have the capacity to become the rarest soul. You have the capacity to become a hero, a lion. Don't stay like a rabbit. A lion is greater than thousands of rabbits. It's not a discouraging statement. One among thousands can become spiritually interested. It's not a discouraging statement. A statement to arouse your inner strength. And one among those thousands that have shown strength comes to realize the truth. To understand that point. First, to become a sadhaka, an aspirant doing spiritual practice. There are so many types of sadhana are presented to you, can be easily lost. But if you have built up good karmas from the past and good sensitivity, you are drawn to the right type of teaching. And do not get distracted. Otherwise, in the very initial stage, an aspirant goes out, I want to be spiritual. Why? Then I can know the mind of others. Or I will get some power. Even without studying the books, I will know what I have to write in the examination. I'm joking, but idea to understand. We're looking for miracles. Spirituality sometimes understood by the mass mentality as something so miraculous that if people were spiritual, they would not be using these bombs, etc. They were using even 1,000 times stronger, Agnivan. Positively or negatively. But all this is nothing to do with spirituality. The word siddhis conjure up so many ideas in human mind, but they have nothing to do with spirituality. For attaining liberation, you don't have to become aware of how big things you can do. But your awareness is going to be more and more Godward, blending with God. And united with God, you can do amazing things. All your imaginations of siddhis become very little compared to that. But simple understanding. Sadhaka. You do sadhana, siddhi is success in sadhana, not attaining psychic power. And between sadhana and siddhi, there is simple point. Sadhana, you are practicing those characteristics that manifest in a person who is advanced. Those characteristics you are practicing with effort. An advanced person has controlled his ego. He is practicing ahimsa, has controlled his anger and hate. Having come to know that, you are practicing that. While in practicing a state, it is called sadhana. When your practice becomes effortless, it is called siddhi. Bringing the end in your life with effort, that's sadhana. And with this, I'm going to conclude. Om Shanti Shanti.
Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.